West Bay gets a lot of visitors every year, but one visitor saw far more than he bargained for. This is the secret of West Bay's Table Rock. Tom came down to West Bay on holiday with his family after seeing an advert for an old fisherman's cottage in the paper. The cottage was antiquated with a lingering smell of mackerel, but the family were charmed by its simple appeal and the neighbour Mrs. Guppy with her thick Dorset accent. They had a wonderful time on the beaches, swimming and fishing, until one day Tom decided to explore the rocks that appear at low tide. He took his children on a slippery walk right out to the hulking limpet-covered rock known as Table Rock. As the children scampered over the rock, Tom's gaze was drawn to a mass of seaweed at the base of the rock. A thrill of terror coursed through him as, peering through the seaweed, he saw a pair of malevolent green eyes staring back at him with a leering, twisted mouth. Tom tore his gaze away and hurriedly called to the children to turn back. Back at the cottage, after a hearty dinner, Tom felt calmer and settled down to read as his wife and children headed to bed. The wind was rising outside, and Tom could hear the waves crashing onto the beach. As the storm grew stronger, the lamp above him started flickering, throwing moving shadows over the walls. The stench of mackerel seemed to increase to an unpleasant odour of decay. Increasingly uncomfortable, Tom tried to return to his book, but outside he heard a squelching, heavy tread making its way up the path to the front door. Steeling himself, he arose and went to the window, and a cry caught in his throat. The same malevolent green eyes and twisted grin from Table Rock stared back. A noise behind him made him jump, and as he turned, plaster crumbled from beside the fireplace onto the floor, revealing a hidden chamber and a keg of Napoleon brandy. Turning back to the window, the face was gone. Trembling, Tom went to the keg, feeling he could do with some brandy, and found it was still good. Exhausted and shaken, he headed to bed and a deep, dreamless sleep. The next day, Mrs. Guppy told Tom about Caleb Gale, who had lived in the cottage in the early 1800s. Apart from fishing, he had also been a smuggler. One fateful night, his boat laden with contraband, he was caught by a revenue ship, and in his panic, Caleb jumped overboard and was never seen again. It is said that the souls of dead seamen live within seagulls, but perhaps Caleb had sought shelter instead under the protective shadow of West Bay's Table Rock. Come down to the West Bay Discovery Centre over Halloween half-term for some spooky, spider-themed fun.
Flint pebbles can often be found with a hole bored through them. This meant that they could be hung up in stables. They were suspended with the feeling that they would somehow prevent the building from being hagrid or hagrod. This is a Dorset expression that applied to witches who would ride the horses at night and then leave them in a sweat the next morning. Others, like this hagstone from Tyneham, were simply tied to a stable door. Fishermen at Weymouth and Abbotsbury would fasten a holy stone onto their boats beneath the gunwale. Fishing was a chancy business, and it was worth taking precautions to keep a witch out of the boat.